Good evening and welcome along to the West Yorkshire Football Show. It's the instant match reaction to Leeds United 3, Middlesbrough 1 with myself, Stephen Brown, and joining me as ever is Jason Booker as well. If you're watching along on YouTube, please do like the video, get your comments in as well. What did you think of that, Leeds fans? And if you're following us on X and watching live on there, please do retweet us and get your comments in there as well. Well, what a game, Jason. A huge 3 points for Leeds United. A fantastic game of football. A really competitive game of football as well. Just an enjoyable watch. We haven't seen a game like that at Ellen Road for a long, long time. Probably since the last time Middlesbrough turned up, and that was kind of one-sided in their favour. Certainly wasn't that way tonight. That was probably a bit of the narrative coming into this, was how much progress have we made since that League Cup game, and what kind of position are we in compared to then. But what a match, Jason. What's your kind of instant kind of take on it?
I thought it was brilliant. I think we set about it in the right way right from minute one. As I just said to you before we came on, it's far easier to play football when the team that you're up against wants to play football as well. You know, when they're not sitting back with 11 players, then you get to see a much more free-flowing Leeds United. And that comes with its own drawbacks as well, because it leaves us more open and whatnot. But it was a much more entertaining game than we get. But that's because there were two teams wanting to play football. And I thought we were brilliant to a man. There were a couple of hairy moments, which I'm sure we'll get into. But like I say, to a man, we set about them really, really well. We were slick in his movement. There were individual performances all over the pitch, which, I thought first half, Wöber, Brendan and Dan James were absolutely brilliant. Second half, I thought Wöber started to flag a little bit. And that's probably not a surprise because he's not played too many. Well, he's not played any 90 minutes, and he's been coming back from injury. The most game time he's got were for Austria since returning from injury. But Brendan and Dan James carried on in the second half exactly the same way they did in the first. And I know there's been some calls for Brendan to drop out. I mean, my word, how wrong were they now? I mean, he would, like I say, he's still going to miss a chance. He's still going to scuff one. He's still going to give the ball away when he shouldn't do. But everything else is just there in absolute spades, absolute bucketfuls and spades. And Dan James, I mean, again, for anybody that doubted him before Daniel Farke's first game at the beginning of last season, I mean, they must be absolutely eating their words now, because at this level, he's just unplayable, mate. He's just unplayable. And not only is everything that he does naturally so good, he's now added things to his game as well in terms of quality. He's that pass that he played at the end, he wouldn't have been able to do that 2 years ago. The finish, and I know he scuffed one just before that, but the finish then seconds later, he's got the composure to stick that right in the top corner. Absolute quality, mate. And yeah, just very, very happy. Feel very vindicated for, again, some of my feelings and takes towards Farke and the system and the style and all the rest of it that comes in between. Brilliant. Really happy.
Yeah, I think you've touched on it there as well, because obviously Farke, he's coming up against Michael Carrick, who I think a lot of people see as this guy who tactically is very astute and gets the best out of his players and sets Middlesbrough up in a way that they can be very, very tricky to play against. And we saw that at times, but I felt Farke really got things spot on tonight. I mean, the opening 20 minutes, we were all over them and fully deserved our goal. I'm going to get into it a little bit more later, but I want to talk about the Leeds press as well. I thought we were absolutely fantastic at winning the ball, and just the pressure we were putting on them in that final third, the amount of times we won the ball back, it was absolutely fantastic. Let's get to some of your comments. Gav, statement win, guys. Skip, massive 3 points against a tough Borough side. So many brilliant individual performances tonight, but Dan James stood out. He was everywhere. Mark, welcome along. Hi, boys. Great result. Nige, that was a hard-fought, brilliant win tonight. Now let's go to Preston and get another 3 points. I mean, it was just absolutely superb, wasn't it, Jason? I mean, let's kind of go back before the match started and the starting lineup. There was 4 changes coming into the team. Obviously, the full-back positions, we knew obviously injuries to Firpo and Bogle meant that Wöber and Sam Byram came back into the team. I've got to say a special shout out to Sam Byram, by the way, because this guy he comes in and it's like such a solid performance every time. Did he win the tackle for the second goal as well? Someone goes flying in. I wasn't too sure if it was Sam Byram who was the person who did that tackle.
Because it came so quick after the Dan James miss, I didn't really kind of register the whole process until it was in the back of the net. So
there's an unreal tackle that someone does. I think it's Byram, and it's just classic Byram. And a big shout out to him. I thought he was absolutely fantastic again tonight. So solid, just slots in, right back, left back, no problem at all. You had then Nonto coming back into the team who was rested, and then Joseph for Peru. When you saw the team sheet, what were your feelings on that, Jace?
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear to me that Daniel Farke's bang on board with rotation now, which I think is good for us. I definitely think that applies to the four boys out wide. And, I've had a lot of wranglings back and forward with who should start and who shouldn't start and all the rest of it. But the facts are you can make a case and an argument for all four of them, which is a great problem to have. And it gives us, as I said in the review the other day, it gives Daniel Farke a situation where he can fully send out two wingers at 100%, even if we're playing 3 times in 7 days, he can do that because he's got great flexibility to be able to rotate between the four of them. So, if Nonto starts over Solomon, no problem for me. The only thing that I will then analyse is the performance and just say it as I see it based on what happens in front of us. So yeah, Nonto starting's fine. Verba we expected once Junior was kind of ruled out. I think from the second Verba went down injured, we kind of knew that he was going to miss this game because there was only 3 days in between the 2 games. Obviously, Bogle we weren't aware of until a little bit later. Byram comes back in. Bear in mind, he's been injured as well, and he comes straight back in and delivers 86 minutes top performance. I mean, I agree with you completely. It was excellent. And given, the situation that Sam found himself in and the solution that he's been for us in over 50 games he's played for us coming back now, given his injury reputation, his history and all the rest of it, and probably the wages that are on as well. If you want to talk about pound for a buck and all that, he's been excellent, mate. He's been absolutely flawless, left back, right back, wherever we need him. And I thought he was brilliant today. I thought he was absolutely excellent, provided a perfect backup for James down that side. Joseph coming in was probably the interesting one of the lot. And I didn't mind it. I understood that maybe coming in and being involved in a press against a team that likes to play out from the back made sense, as opposed to Pirro being there for the one key moment that might arise. I'll be honest with you, I thought Joseph did all right. I thought he led the line fairly well first half. I thought he held the ball up well. I thought he pressed well. His attitude seemed on point. I thought he could have done a little bit better with the James cross that whipped across. I thought he could have got there, and that'd have been a killer moment for Joseph. But in everything else other than putting the ball in the back of the net, I thought he did all right. And it allowed Pirro to come on and do what he does later. He got an assist himself to Pirro for James. He led the pass on to James, which then James led on to Tanaka, and Tanaka passed it. So, it's hard to find any grumblings with the system, the tactic, the starting lineup, all the subs tonight from Farke. I thought he got it perfect, to be honest.
Yeah. Following up on Joseph there, Skip, I really wanted Joseph as our main striker this season, but sadly I don't think he's ready yet. He's offered very little since the early season. I agree with you, Jess. I thought his kind of general play was very good. There was a moment in the first half where Middlesbrough kind of wrestled back a little bit of I wouldn't call it control of the game, but they suddenly started to look a bit threatening, and they were holding on to the ball a bit more. And I love seeing Joseph really jumping for those challenges, pressing, running the defenders down. I thought that was really what we needed in that kind of moment. We needed that physicality, and I don't feel like he has a goal in him at the moment. When I watch him, I don't feel like he's really going to kind of bang it in the net, like you say. That chance where if he'd have gambled, it would have been pretty much on a plate. I think there was one with Verba in the second half where maybe he could have got in front of the defender or something with that.
What, Brandy? Just specifically on that. Sorry to cut in. I don't even know how important it is about the number 9 scoring anymore. Yeah. Like the goals are just coming from everywhere. I know Nonto's was a little bit lucky today, but he gets one. James gets one. Aaronson gets another. Aaronson's on 5. James is on a certain amount of goals now. Pascal's good from corners. Rodon scores the other day. Bogle's got one. Firpo's capable. Verba scored at the weekend. And it just goes on and on and on. And I mean, you've got Pirro sat 3rd or 4th in the rankings on 7. it's a good problem to have when your number 9 isn't really the player that's finishing the chances. I know that you made it was a great point at the weekend about Pirro being, are we putting on enough for him or for the number 9 in the Leeds United system? As long as we keep on scoring, I really don't think it matters.
Yeah. I think it's a great point. It's a different game nowadays, isn't it? Striker. It's almost like a kind of, I don't know, defensive position almost, isn't it? With the pressing and everything. It's kind of strange how it's worked out there. Arthur Rothwell, what a signing! Yeah, again, I mean,
brilliant tonight.
Just so superb, and the set pieces as well, the set piece deliveries. There's just that threat, isn't there? And you do wonder, obviously Ampadu, we saw him tonight, and you wonder what Rothwell's position will be going forward. But we'll miss those set pieces if he does lose his place.
It's probably the biggest headache we have.
Yeah,
because like the situation with the wingers, it's very fluid. They can all chop and change. They can both play 2 positions. They can come in and out. They impact the game in different ways when they come on with 20-30 minutes. The centre midfield's key, in it. It's the absolute make or break of a team, really. And Rothwell and Tanaka, they're practically undroppable. Tanaka is just, I mean, it was, if Dan James weren't a 10 out of 10 tonight, again, Tanaka would have been in a running for a man of the match again. Every performance, I think he was a little bit off it against Blackburn, but every other game in the Leeds United shirt, he's been perfect. 9s and 10s out of 10s every game. And tonight, he was just a terrier into everything. His decision-making, his passing, his execution, his awareness. And then he's got his mate alongside him who just does everything really well that Tanaka might not have in his lock. Tanaka's not great at carrying the ball through the channels. Rothwell's brilliant at that. He just scurries in front, and then his set piece delivery. That's in itself worthwhile starting, isn't it? Just for his set piece deliveries. And the free kick that he put in just before half time, brilliant. So what more can you say about him, mate?
Yeah, I think you made a great point at weekend though when you said about maybe this away kind of situation away from Ellen Road. Maybe that's where you do kind of mix it up a bit. So we'll wait and see on that. Like Arthur says, you don't miss Kamara at all. I mean, it's
true.
We really don't. I mean, I literally have not thought about Kamara since the start of the season. I think probably last time we played Middlesbrough, we might go, no, it'd be nice to have Kamara in that midfield tonight. But now you look at it and go, I mean, Tanaka looks just levels above him, and so does Rothwell, to be fair.
Brown, it's not all about the ability of the player as well. It's the suiting of the tactic and the style. Now, and I think now when we look back, Kamara was second, third, or maybe even 4th choice for Farke, and he made him fit in the system that he applied him as best as he could. But now you're seeing the proper role within this system that Daniel Farke wanted. I think that's what it is, because Kamara's a hell of a player. He was a very, very good footballer, but he played in a certain way, slowed everything down as well. Whereas Tanaka and Rothwell don't always look to do that. They look to drive into them half spaces. I mean, Tanaka is just a joy to watch. I know, obviously, Lou, who's on the show regularly, our non-league correspondent and resident Newcastle fan as well, as we try to
secret Leeds fan.
Yeah, secret Leeds fan. He was just saying it's clearly a Premier League player, and it's impossible to disagree with that. And that's not us getting ahead of ourselves. If anything, it worries me because there's going to be teams all over him, maybe even in January, because he's that good. He's that good. So just have
to get promoted to keep him, don't we?
I
mean, it's absolutely. I mean, just for the sake of not selling Tanaka, not losing Tanaka, please get promoted this season, Leeds United. I don't want to lose that guy because he's just absolutely unreal.
He's an anomaly in the football world as well, because he's not a baby. He's not a kid.
No.
He's like 26, 27, I think he is Tanaka. Like, experienced international, really, at this stage. How he's been so missed by teams, managers, scouts. It's just beyond me. I cannot believe he was knocking about in the Bundesliga too. Bear in mind, he played all last season there as well. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's mad. Guys, if you watch along, please do smash a like on the video. It really helps us out on the channel. Thank you very much. Interesting game. I mean, we get the goal, Jace. A bit of a scrappy goal. I mean, you said in the group you didn't really celebrate at first because you were like,
yeah, well, me.
God, I was kind of. I was waiting for like the whistle to go or something to say something had happened. It's like, oh no, we've done it. Kind of Nonto bundles the ball home. And you're thinking, yep, we're on our way here. Like I say, Middlesbrough did come back into it. I thought after they started to have a bit of possession, but it came to the end of that first half. I thought that what a first half that was. And it that's part of it, isn't it, as well? I think probably why there's been this kind of boring accusations or whatever label sometimes is because we just are so dominant, so clear of the team that we're playing that it inevitably is going to. I mean, the game at the weekend. I mean, you're just kind of watching it and there's just no danger, there's no threat. Whereas tonight there was threat. There was, thing with Middlesbrough, they didn't create a lot of chances, really, did they? They didn't test Meslier that much or anything, but there was just a threat there. I felt, the way they could string a few passes together, the way they got space on the wings quite a few times, and I've got to say, probably the negative tonight, not so much negative, but I felt there was a little bit of a shakiness in the defence at times. I felt there was a little slight bit of vulnerability, and I have to say, most of that comes from Strike in the centre back role. He is very shaky. There was a couple of times of concentration dips, like when he went out for a corner in the first half, and a couple of passes going astray. I mean, and Melior's kicking as well a few times when they were starting to kind of put the pressure on as he was kind of spooning them out. And I do want to say about Meslier as well, we're going to give him his flowers as well for what he did. But there was a portion that first half where I just felt, a couple of the players are looking nervy in defence, and it's putting a bit of wind in Middlesbrough's sails.
Well, I mean, first of all, I'm always a bit nervous about talking about Pascal now because it just seems like I've got this kind of thing going with him. I just see the player that he is, I think, and that sounds really arrogant of me, but it just is what it is. And you saw it in 4K tonight. With that moment. And I mean, it's been harsh again, but it's them moments that are key to the game. That corner comes in and we concede. It's a different game. So, and that's why he's not a Premier League player. He's a Championship player, and he's a good Championship player. But that, he has got that in his locker. Personally, what I thought started to happen in that first half was they started to press really high. And they like to have possession as well. You saw it by the way that Meslier was sending everybody up and they were going long with the goal kicks rather than trying to play it out from the back. There were 3 or 4 pressing them. Now, we're not used to that, especially at home. No. We are good at playing through the press, but we're not used to it at home. So it did create a little bit of an unrest for 10, 15 minutes. And there were a couple of moments, the Pascal back pass. Rodon played a couple of bad ones into Meslier. I know what you're saying about Melior's kicking, but in my opinion, the ones that went out of play tend to be forced onto his right foot, and he had very little option. So I don't give him too much criticism for that. I thought he was good tonight. I thought he was really good tonight. I thought the save before the goal and the when he came out and I think it was Doak, Verber and Strike both got caught completely ball watching, and it came across to him. And that's what Meslier is really good at, to be fair. He's one-on-one, down low, coming out and smothering is usually something that he's really good at. So, fair play to him tonight. I thought he had a good game. But I think that's what happened. I think it was just a shift in momentum. Middlesbrough, no mugs, are a good side. But the game was entertaining because two teams were trying to play football. When you've got a team that are just camped in with 11 players behind the ball, it is going to be quote-unquote boring. You go and watch Real Madrid or Barcelona against Vallecano or Elche or whoever they're playing at the bottom of the league, it'll look the same. Go watch Man City against most of the bottom teams. Go watch Arsenal against them. Go watch Liverpool against them. The game plays out exactly like what we see in a higher tiered version. You know what I mean? And they've got killer players that can make that key moment count from one moment, whereas we've got Championship players that when that moment comes, sometimes we're not as clinical as we should be. Well, I think what you saw today, mate, were just two teams that really went at trying to win a football game, and it made it entertaining because we were a bloody good side.
Yeah, because they kind of had a box of 4 players, didn't they? Middlesbrough, and they put them right there, and it was tricky at times. But on the counter side to that is, if you could beat that press, you're away, aren't you? With Dan James, Aaronson, they were just, if they got that ball. And let's say Tanaka or Rothwell, beat that press or whatever, you're away, aren't you? It really is kind of end to end at that point.
And let's be real as well. We were good value for the win. We were by far the best side. You know, Verba puts the goal in the net. They don't even score tonight. You know, he puts it out for another corner, and we likely win the game 3-0 because we probably score again later on in the game anyway. You know, it will 1-0 at the time, but you get my point. We probably win the game 2-0 or whatever. It always felt fairly comfortable for me. They had one really good chance, which Melier went down and smothered, and the save that he should make. The save that went out for the corner, he should make that. It's a decent save, but he should make it. So they didn't have much. They didn't have the chances that we had. So, and again, this is a team, you know, you said to me the other day you were worried about them being potential for top 2. I can understand that. And I think a lot of people are kind of fancying them for a bit of a gate crash of the top 2, Burnley, Sheffield United and Leeds. And, you know, if this is the best the Championship have to offer, again, I said this before the game, didn't I? It's similar to the Sheffield United game, and we were a cut above them. We were a cut above them tonight.
Yeah, I feel like we really took the game away from them. I think, you know, Solomon and Piru coming on, just seemed to just really just take the game away. I don't know if it kind of renewed our confidence or whatever, or, you know, it's kind of, you know, if you're a Middlesbrough player and you're seeing that level of quality coming on, you just think, you know, wow. But it really did. I thought it was a great use of subs because, you know, Piru is very different to Joseph, and like you say, the way he was able to pick the ball up, turn, and knock it through to a player, you know, and he's got that bit of vision in him, hasn't he, as well? So yeah, I thought we were very, very good value for what is a very difficult task. I'm just curious now to see what we're going to do away from home, if we can try and, you know, maybe just improve that a little bit away from home. Although, I mean, saying it, you know, I mean, we are in first. we have gone up to first. Burnley have dropped points again. You know, Sheffield United to go tomorrow. I think Sunderland have dropped points as well again. Blackburn on fire, actually, aren't they?
Yeah, five straight wins.
5 straight wins, 1-0. What did you think of Nonto today? Because it's good. It seems a little bit interesting between him and Solomon potentially. Or I mean, Dan James is undroppable at the minute, but I mean, Nonto came off. I mean, he gets the goal, Nonto, but I don't feel like he's that influential at the minute.
No, I were a bit disappointed to see Solomon dropped, if I'm honest, because I thought he'd have had a really good time against Dijksteel. Dijksteel's more of an attacking fullback, and I thought he'd have had a real good time against him. Now, Nonto wasn't bad, but I thought it was hit and miss today. It's just his age and inexperience. At times, he either tries too much, or when he's in a position to do something a little bit different, he goes back. It tends to be that he makes the wrong decision, but he's impactful. He's still, you know, creating enough to be warranted. He's in the right place at the right time. I thought defensively, first half, I thought he was great. He really worked hard down that left side and getting back and making sure Verba were protected. And then obviously he gets the goal. I think it was a bit fortunate. I think the keeper kind of kicked it back off him and it went in, but you're in the right place at the right time, which you can't argue with that. I personally think Solomon's ahead of him right now. But again, I just think it's such a great problem to have. When Ramazan is fully fit, you could argue that he plays on the left. And then Nonto and Solomon are both on the bench. You could argue that. I agree with you. I think while Dan James is full of confidence and fit, he plays every game. Yeah. He probably won't because the rotation looks like he's going to take time out of the team as well. But he was excellent tonight with Dan James. He really is undroppable right now. Right, you know, his confidence is flying.
Yeah, I mean, his decision making and everything has just gone up so many levels, and also the mentality to miss that chance, almost get an identical chance a minute later, and then bang it home. Do you know what I mean? It's incredible. Just to raise this point, Gavin, just seeing the goals, etc. Did we get away with a penalty there? I've got to say, I wouldn't have been surprised if that had been given.
I think it's one of them. If it's given, you get it. I understand it. But it went down so easily. He was looking to go down. It wasn't enough to send him over in the way that he went. And I think that's what ended up kind of costing him. Rodon definitely makes contact with the back of his heel, but it's just not enough to send him down in that manner. And I think the referee's kind of seen that and been like, well, he's trying to buy that. Whereas if it had kind of just been taken off stride from it, he might have actually got it. It's a funny one because if you don't throw yourself over, does the referee then see it? And I would lean on the side of the fact that it's not a penalty.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, just that was that kind of wobbly period at first half where we were just starting to get a bit slack with that. We're waiting for Daniel Farker's comments in. Borough boss Michael Carrick's bitterly disappointed with the result. He thinks their performance deserved better.
I don't agree with that.
Nah.
I don't agree with that at all.
I mean, we're never going to, come out like the rest of them and say how great Leeds are. But despite that, I think we were still the better team, definitely. Elsewhere on the pitch, then, I mean, Brendan Aaronson, like you mentioned at the start of the show, bit of criticism recently. Probably not the weekend's game and tonight, definitely not. I thought, I wouldn't be against him having a little rest. I think he's been excellent this season, but I thought his performances were just starting to kind of dip a little bit. But last two performances, I mean, tonight he was he was all over. I mean, his energy, the press, and he must be a nightmare to play against because he just never ever stops. And it's great to see. It's absolutely great to see. He's flying into tackles. He's getting the crowd cheering for him, and he gets a goal tonight as well. Like you mentioned as well, composure's not quite there. I mean, he spooned that one over the bar, didn't he? That he had that swung round. But that's Brendan Aaronson, isn't it? That. I mean, you got to think as well. I mean, he's what, 22, 23 now, Brendan. When he gets to Dan James's age, another 2-3 years of kind of, that nous, that bit between your ears that develops naturally as you get older. We could see all that come together for him. But I mean, again, what a performance! And if there were any doubts about his place in the team, he's kind of put that to bed, hasn't he?
Yeah, and I mean, he were a fair shout for man of the match tonight. It was brilliant, and I thought his quality on the ball were decent too. Like, not perfect, but it was decent. Like, he was creating some real danger going forward in that first half. It had been tip-top. That first half had been a perfect first half if he'd have scored that volley. But yeah, it's just that little bit of composure when he needed it to bring the ball down or just wait until it settled a little bit more. But he was excellent. He was absolutely excellent. Like you say, he was everywhere. And when people say to me, well, what does he bring to the team? Nobody in the division, let alone the team, can match his output in terms of the attacking press. They just can't. Our defending starts from the second that we lose the ball, and it starts with Brendan Aaronson. He's everywhere, and the pressure that he puts the opponents under in terms of making that quality of pass, the way that he funnels the ball, is a bit like Bamford 2018, 2019 under Bielsa. Yeah. He does the same kind of role without the ball that he did. He's brilliant at it. He's just so good, and his energy, and who was there when Tanaka squared it in the 92nd minute? It's Brendan Aaronson. How has he got the energy to just carry on and still be there at that point? Testament to his fitness and his work off the pitch, because that doesn't happen by accident. So yeah, mega happy for him. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. And the commentator mentioned it, didn't he, about how Leeds have got the most aggressive press in the division, and that kind of snuck up on me. I wasn't actually aware of that. I didn't realise we were kind of top of that chart, and that's a big difference from last year, I feel.
Yeah, probably. I still think it was good last year, though, Branny, because it's difficult to kind of feel it because we spend so much time with the ball. But the second that we lose the ball, we are in the hunt for trying to get it back. Yeah. Tonight we had 50-50%.
Tonight it was unbelievable.
Well, 50-50% on the possession tonight as well. So we actually spent more time without the ball than we usually do at home. But the second that we lost the ball, we were all over them in terms of the press. It was brilliant. But my point in that is we probably felt it and saw it more tonight because we spent more time without the ball. Do you get what I mean? So whereas most home games, we've got 80% possession. So, it's not often that the opponents have the ball. So, brilliant to see, mate. And again, that is all part of the coaching and the drilling. So, when you're trying to say Daniel Farker's tactically inept, it's just absolute nonsense. It's just complete nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. And it's that balance in it. Obviously, you've got to have a lot of talent in the team, which he does have at his disposal. But it's how you put it together, isn't it? It's how you make that talent work. And yeah, I can't imagine us doing much better than what we're doing, really, to be completely honest. Verber at left back, how do you? I mean, he's so attacking. I can't believe how kind of
Yeah.
aggressive he is. The Roberto Carlos effort, from the left side, where he's like, whew, it's like bloody hell, who is this guy? I think he's looking all right in here.
I thought it was great. I thought first half especially were fantastic. I did think he tired a little bit towards the end, and he does this thing as a defender. I don't really like it, but he kind of runs away from the ball when the opponent's got it, as if he's not going to close it down, and then closes down really aggressively and dives in. Now, often it works, but it looks rash. And that's where penalties and things like that can come in, especially when he's tired and he just kind of mistimes it a little bit. But overall, I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was excellent tonight, strong. For a centre back that plays left back, he's technically quite good in tight spaces. Doesn't look at compare him to when Pascal played at left back as an example. It's chalk and cheese, isn't it? And Pascal always looks so uncomfortable at left back, whereas Verba looks comfortable. His delivery's good. There were a couple of through balls where he played it through the channels into Solomon and Nonto, Aaronson. Pirro Joseph got onto one of them later on as well. What happens from the corner happens sometimes. The ball takes a weird flight and he tries to head it back out for a corner. It goes in. It happened. That's a hazard of being a defender sometimes. Yeah, I thought it was great.
So as Arthur says here, look, Arthur played Sunday morning football. It happened to him at a corner. We know these things can happen.
They do happen.
They happen, don't they? Do you know, it's funny you mentioned about the ball watching, because there were a couple of times where it would winding me up a little bit second half, where Borough would get in space and you can watch we were just completely ball watching and losing the man, especially Stroik's a bugger for this, actually. He's not aware of where the man is, and they get space. You're like, come on, tighten up, what are you doing? We're nitpicking at that level. We're looking for other comments coming through from Daniel Farker, seeing if he's saying anything at the moment.
Just while you're getting that, I just saw an interesting stat here. You're talking about the wingers. So in 20 games this season so far, Nonto, Ramazani, Solomon and James have 22 goals and assists between them. That's pretty cracking within 20. Bear in mind, Pirro's got a bunch of assists and goals as well. 22 G&A between them in 20 games. Ramazan has been out during that time. They've all had little injuries as well. It's pretty impressive. That is pretty impressive. I mean, there isn't another team in the division that matches the quality and the output that them four give us.
No, and it's amazing. I mean, we haven't even needed Ramazani tonight, have we? It's just you just sit on the bench. One sub that possibly caused a bit of consternation for yourself for a few minutes was Ampadu to right back.
I didn't like it
coming off, and I don't know. I mean, it seems to be a kind of urgency to get Ampadu back into the fold and get some minutes on the grass. He looked really rusty to me, did Ampadu. Even when he was on the ball, he spooned a couple of passes and gave the ball away a few times, and it was one of them you're thinking, oh, what's going on here? And Schmidt just still not getting a look in.
I'd like to know how much that was Ampadu needs minutes, or Byron was just knackered and needed to come off, because it felt really clunky. I mean, Ampadu's never played right back as far as I've been aware. I mean, sure, he's a defensive player, so he can play there, but he looked completely out of kilt, and he did look rusty. Now, what I will say with regards to Schmidt is he's a very attacking fullback. Did it make more sense than bringing Schmidt on there? Maybe. But for me, I'd have just put Dan James back there and put Ramazani on the wing. Personally, Dan James gives you defensive output. It just would have made more sense, given the game was still in the balance at the time. It was 2-1. I thought it was a bit of an odd one, but at the end of the day, he knows what he's putting in training, he knows how fresh and ready he is coming into game. I don't know. I trust Daniel Farker. He got everything else right tonight, so fair enough.
Yeah, Johnny says, I think it was to protect Byron. Well, this is it. I mean, Byron, it's incredible what he's doing, considering the injuries he's been through. Michael Carrick on Leeds United, he says they're a good team with Premier League players. It's not for me to say if they are the strongest team in the division. Fair enough. We'll see at the end. We are now top, Jason. Dare we say it? A little bit of daylight between ourselves and Burnley, just a little bit of daylight. Can we press on now? Can we put our foot down on the accelerator, can we really own either one or two, one of the top positions in the division? Do you think this feels like almost like the moment now, doesn't it? Now that we've actually we've got there, there's a bit of breathing space. Can we really just kind of hammer it home now?
Yeah, I think the simple answer is yes. We absolutely can. This time last season, we were a fair bit behind, and we needed the 9 wins from January the 1st or whatever it was to kind of close that gap and be within the shout. We are now, at turn of the year, nearly front and centre. We're the main team. We're the best team in the division. I still believe that. We are now number 1, regardless of I think Sheffield United would go level on points with the tomorrow if they win. Yeah. I think that's how it stands at the moment. Yeah. However it stands anyway.
Yeah.
I still think we're the best team, and I think over the course of the season that will show. Daniel Farke's teams notoriously get better after January, after the turn of the year. They grow into the season. I think the more we can take the pressure off ourselves, come the second half of the season, the better it is for us and the boys after what happened last season, the pressure of Ellen Road, the fan base, the expectation and all the rest of it. But I really do believe that we will go up, whether it be first or second. I think we'll win the league, I do. I've said it all season. I still think we're the best team in the division. And I don't think we've got anything to fear. And, people need to just stop losing their head when we do lose the odd game. I keep saying this, like it happens. It's in the Championship. This isn't last season. Leicester especially, but Leicester and Ipswich and us. If Southampton had lost in the playoff final to us, all their fans would have been saying in any normal season would have gone up second. They'd have been saying it as well, because the Championship was just so odd last season. The consistency of them top teams was so rare. Teams beat teams in the Championship all the time. Burnley dropped points again today. Sheffield United will drop points again at some point. Leeds will drop points again. So, if we go to Blackburn, who have won 5 straight, 1-0, and lose 1-0, it ain't the end of the world. Yeah. We're still better than them, and we'll pick up more points than teams like that over the season. We go to Ellen Road tonight and beat Middlesbrough, who have, been one of the better teams in the division. So yeah, I'm really, really, really confident, mate, that we'll carry on progressing, and I think we'll hit 90+ points and go up.
Oh, love it. I hope so. Schmidt. Now, we did see a little bit of Schmidt actually, and do you know what? The 2 little cameos we've had of him that kind of come into my mind that I've seen him, I think he looks pretty sharp. I think he looks pretty nifty. I don't know, but I know it's very small sample size, but he does look sharp. I'm just wondering kind of what's going on there.
Brownie, I think he's a utility player that can play fullback, but he's actually a winger. That's what I think he is. I think St. Gallen, I don't know a lot about the Swiss League. I can't say to have watched a lot of it. But St. Gallen, I know, one of the better teams in the division. They could have been potentially playing with an attacking fullback that spent a lot of his time further up the pitch. I think he scored in the Europa Conference League the game before he left to come to us, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
For all we know, he was a winger that actually played fullback for them rather than a fullback that we then bought as a fullback. You know what I mean? Because he hasn't played fullback. He's never played fullback under Daniel Farke, not even as a sub appearance. Like I think every single sub appearance has been further up. So maybe that's just the case. Maybe he's a bit of a project. He can fill in as a 4th or 5th choice at fullback either side, but he's going to be a very attacking option. And maybe he's actually competition for the other boys, Solomon, James, Nonto, and Ramazani, which is crazy when you think about it. But when you watch him, he's clearly very attacking, very good going forward. Is he as good defensively? And then we don't know that yet. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. Really, really interesting one is Schmidt. I'm looking forward to seeing more of him, because everything we've seen looks good, but it's in 5-minute cameos, isn't it, at the end of the game?
Yeah, exactly. It's Preston up next, who've not won for a long time. I'm looking through their results. I think they beat Coventry back in October, middle of October. I think that's the last win that Preston have had. Obviously, we had a bit of a nightmare there last season. I mean, you'd be really hopeful that we can go there and pick the 3 points. That's one where we just almost like what we did to Sheffield Wednesday at the start of the season, where you just turn up, you just get the business done, and you leave with the 3 points. The squad is looking in a superb place at the minute, Jason, as well. With Ampadu back now, with Gruev waiting in the wings. Apparently, it was very close as well.
So,
I mean, just to get your take on that, actually, because I don't think we've spoken since the rumor of Gruev coming back. But I mean, I thought he was out for the season, but they're talking about a couple of weeks or something.
I think a lot of what you hear is just hearsay and gossip, though. I don't think we've actually heard Farker or the club come out and say he's out for the season. I don't think that was ever a thing. Him and Ampadu both had similar injuries by the sounds of it. So the fact that Gruev's 2 or 3 weeks further behind Ampadu probably makes a lot of sense if his were just a step further in terms of severity of injury. Still 2 weeks from being back on the grass, so it's going to be a month, I would say, probably before we see Gruev. But again, he'll be an option that will come in. And because we've got such good options and they're playing so well, there's going to be no rush for him to be forced back in quickly. And he can come back on 5-10 minutes at the end of games to solidify games in the way that we know he can. He's a great defensive midfielder. And I think they all complement each other really, really well. I mean, I'm a bit nervous about it, to be honest. I know that it's a good problem to have, but I'm nervous about breaking up what I've really enjoyed watching in Tanaka and Rothwell and Brendan. I put Brendan in that as well. I made the point the other day that it seems like a really easy solution just to say put Rothwell in at 10 and take Aaronson out and it'll be even better than it is now. It's not as simple as that, and you lose a lot from taking Brendan out. So yeah, it makes me a bit nervous.
You got the issue, haven't you, as well, because Ampadu's club captain, so you're in this position where, you've seen it tonight. He's probably crowbarred into getting some minutes on the pitch when, for me, he didn't really look ready. So I just don't see how Ampadu's not going to play. But I agree. It's kind of, it's a bit, if you see that starting lineup and, Rothwell's out of it or an Aaronson, you're going to be a bit like, oh, that's,
It depends how it's done, doesn't it? If it's done on a rotational basis, game by game, that suits the game, like the wingers are, I don't think anybody's going to have a problem with it. And because there is horses for courses, there'll be games where Rothwell is less impactful, or Ampadu is less impactful, or Brendan's less impactful. I think Tanaka's just the Swiss Army knife. He's just going to do it all. Like, he plays every game. He's the main man.
You can't drop him.
You can't drop Tanaka, but everything around him can kind of change. So if it's done like that, I ain't got a problem with it. But I have got a problem if Ampadu just plays every game because he's captain, or plays every game because he's Ampadu. I love Ethan Ampadu, but there is games where we would be better suited with the two that we've currently got. We've seen enough from Rothwell and Tanaka to know that they are super capable. As for the Preston game, we have to win at the weekend. Like, I've got no problem with us potentially going to Blackburn or going to Middlesbrough or going to Sheffield United or, Burnley and drawing or even losing. It happens. You can't win every week, but you can't go to Preston on the back of what we've just had and lose at Preston. You just can't. Not if you're gonna win the league. You have to go and pick up 3 points at the weekend, in my opinion. Look, if we end up drawing at the weekend, I'll make reasons and excuses why it's okay, because that is the championship, and and it won't be the end of the world. It won't, but it will just notch that pressure bar up a little bit for this away form problem. Yeah. If we win at the weekend, we'll probably be in the top 3 for away form, and all of a sudden it's not a problem. So I think it's a really key game on the back of this one.
I agree, and I think what it is as well, when you look at the quality and the depth, the wingers and the central midfield, you look at it and go, we are so more than capable of going to Preston winning, for God's sake. It feels like underachievement if you don't go and win, because we are so good, and it does feel like we are capable of putting a run together home and away where we just rack up the wins. But it is the championship, and you've got to go out and do it, haven't you, basically? Couple of comments then from Daniel Farker that's starting to come in now from Pope. Gave praise to Borough for having a go at Leeds United in what was a tight contest. Proud of his side for regaining the lead and deservedly winning the game. I've got to say for that as well, to come back, because I think, in years gone by, we've seen Leeds United teams kind of crumble a little bit in that position where the team comes back into it, the crowd are a bit anxious and everything. And I just thought we didn't have any of that tonight. I thought we kind of shook ourselves, dusted ourselves down, and got back on the horse and got our lead back.
It's funny, isn't it? Because as Leeds United fans, you become very experienced in watching your football team play. And you're absolutely right. Like, there's some games where you concede, Blackburn away as an example, concede, and it never from the second that we conceded, it never felt like we were going to equalise. Really, it always felt like we were probably going to lose that game. Tonight, even when Verba scored the own goal, I almost knew we were going to win the game. That's how it felt. Like, when I was watching it, I was watching the game in expectation we were going to score, rather than hope. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just, like I say, the experience of being a Leeds fan and knowing what a performance looks like when that's going to happen. The Ellen Road crowd were up for it today. Like, they were really at it. Borough are a bit of a funny one. They've got this kind of fake rivalry with us.
Yeah, they're another out there.
It's a really odd one. Yeah, they hate us for some reason. And but it kind of stoked up, and it felt like we were always going to go on to win the game. So yeah, I think you're spot on, mate. In previous reincarnations of Leeds, we wouldn't have won after the equaliser, whereas tonight it never felt like that.
No. Jason, thanks for your comment. The 49ers player trades aren't too bad, are they? A few levels up on odds. I mean, the thing is, this is what I'm so excited about as well, is like, what can this recruitment team deliver if we're in the Premier League and we've got Premier League pulling power? Now, I know there's been a little bit of a reshuffling on that side of it. We don't know how that'll impact things, but God, I would love to see what this recruitment team would do with being able to attract players to Premier League football. I mean, that's what I'd be so excited about. I'd be so excited to see that, Jason. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I mean, you're hard pushed to find a bad recruitment piece from the 49ers. Sure, people might say Jed Spence, or, I'm sure there were another bad one last season. But you're pushing it. You're really pushing it. And recruitment's the toughest part about football. It really is. It's so difficult to get transfers correct. So it's difficult to get a deal over the line. You know what I mean? And you've got to get the players' wages right, the transfer fee right, the attitude of the player, the style, do they fit the tactic, game time, attitude. All these things are kind of put in, and some of that's player management from the coaches and Daniel Farker as well. But it's testament to their recruitment ability, and this season they've been perfect, right? I can't think of a bad one.
No, Schmidt, we don't know yet. Schmidt could suddenly come into the team for the last 3 months of the season, be a blinder. It's just
even that, Brownie. It's a punt anyway. It costs next to nothing. And he's a utility man. Who can do a whole load of jobs for us. We need them kind of players as well. Sam Byram, think about that recruitment as a piece. Joe Rodon, Jaden Bogle, £5 million. Best right back in division, £5 million. Tanaka, best centre midfielder in the division, 2.6 million. Ampadu, Ramazani, and it just literally goes on and on and on. And people can say what they want about me and my allegiances to Manor Solomon, but dragging Manor Solomon to the championship is unreal. He starts in every single team in this division. He starts in most teams, in most top divisions. We managed to get him over going to Sevilla, I think it was, or Ajax. I think we're in for him on the last day before he came to us. That's proper recruitment work. Is that unbelievable? So yeah, I couldn't agree with that point from Jason Moore.
Absolutely, Arthur. And I think there'll be a lot of Leeds fans feeling this way. I've criticised Farker, but his football he plays is enjoyable. Absolutely. There's but this season the football for me has been absolutely superb. It really has. Good stuff. Before we start off then, Jason, any final thoughts?
Two things. I think that's a great point to just kind of pick on and be like, have a little bit of understanding and patience when the football is quote unquote boring, because there's two teams playing the game. And if you've got a team fouling you every potential opportunity, banking in with 2 sets of 4 and then a striker or a 5 and a 4, or however they decide to set up, it's extremely difficult to look sexy when you've got no space to play in. Whereas when a team's coming to actually try and have a go and win the game, like Borough did today, it looks like it did today. We looked like that against Sheffield United. We looked like that against Luton, both at home, and they both came and had a go. And again, we look like that again tonight against Borough. We look like that against Watford in the first half. I think personally the hardest game that we've had this season is Watford second half. 2-1, we ended up finishing that game, and they played really, really well. I'd say that were a bad performance on the whole,
I have
really.
absolutely no memory of that game.
Yeah, well, we absolutely blew them away. We scored 2 goals in the first 10. Thought we were going to take them apart, and then they ended up scoring right at the beginning of the second half. And
they
caused
were
us some
big,
problems.
weren't they? Every player was like a mountain, weren't they?
Yeah, really physical. And my kind of finishing point is, just watching the boys coming in on the Leeds United thing on social media, and they're all having such a good time. Golovogui and Verba, like grabbing each other, laughing and smiling, and there's a really good atmosphere and feeling right the way through the whole player base. Even players that are not playing or not playing a lot, they're in it, and they are right behind the manager. And we need to keep right behind them every step of the way, whether it's a win, lose, or draw situation, because we're going to get this over the line, but we do need everybody on board every week.
Hashtag sack Farker.
Hashtag sack. I send it to you all the time, don't I? Fark out. Hashtag Fark out with a stat that says we're best team in country. Or anyway.
Yeah. Crazy, absolutely crazy. Just one final mention, because Farker has given special praise to Meslier, who he says stay focused to make big saves in key moments, and reveals how Meslier has been doing extra training sessions with keeper coach Ed Wootton. So fair play, Elan Meslier.
He was great tonight. He was really good tonight.
He did what we needed, didn't he? He did what we needed, and we've said about him making the first saves and everything, and he did that.
I just think it's really, because some people would be like, the save that he made that went out for the corner that then went in, right? Even though a goal still came from that, it's massively important that he didn't bottle that moment, because if he does, the crowd drops, his players around him all drop in confidence, they all feel a little bit, and the atmosphere is different. The score's the same, it's still 1-1. Yeah, it's still 1-1. But it would have been different. So it's still vital that he made that save. And then obviously he had the save after that from Ben Doak as well. So, and I thought it was great tonight. Like, I know you made the point about his kicking. For me, I thought most of his distribution when he was not under any pressure was all right. And he's a goalkeeper, like on his right foot. Sometimes they're going to go out of play. So, I think fair play for Daniel Farker to give his keeper props tonight. And, we have to be big enough to say he had a good game, because we're quick to criticise him when he doesn't. So,
yeah,
fair play.
Indeed. Good stuff all round. Excellent. Well, thank you very much, everyone who's watched and tuned in tonight. If you're watching this again on YouTube later, please do leave your comments. Let us know how you felt about the game as well. Going to be plenty happening on the channel through the week. Check out tomorrow, Bradford City Special with Gaz and Jason McEwen from the Width of the Post there. Myself and Jason will be back at some point over the weekend. So do take care. I've been Stephen Brown. With me has been Jason Booker. Jason, thank you very much.
Thank you, mate.
And we will see you again soon. Thank you for watching.